are you, man? You staying warm over there?
I think so. I think so. Happy New Year. Can't say
Yeah,
that enough. I mean, in a whirlwind, from that holiday season to where we're at now, it seems like a blink of an eye. So, welcome to 2024.
it's the first one. Can you believe it? Of all the ones we've done, it's the
Yeah,
first one of the new year, you know? So
absolutely.
we always, from day one, we've always talked about doing local showcasing local heroes. When we
Yeah,
started it off, we always go back to the softball angle where it began, showcasing female athletics, and then showcasing a local hero once a month,
yeah,
man. And this guy will kind of break it down, inspired me. I don't know about you, but it's been inspiring me
yeah,
to run more so. How about you?
yeah,
How's your
yeah, yeah.
marathon training going?
Just at the restarting now, kind of at my infancy. It's you take enough time off, you go back to being a beginner. So, looking forward to get some mileage under my feet.
I heard a coach tell me, they said, if you want to learn to run fast, go up to the dog that you can see that looks like the craziest kind of rabiest dog and
Yeah,
slap
there
it
you
and
go.
just run. And if you can outrun that dog, you learn to run. I'm just kidding,
There
man.
you go.
No, but it's a local showcasing of heroes is kind of something we try to do once a month. So the
Yeah,
gentleman that we're bringing on, obviously, local celebrity, works with Channel 12, news guy with weather, always keeps us on our toes, lets
yeah,
us know if we should go outside and play or not. And it also, we found out in doing all this, is a great marathoner, runner,
yeah.
just fitness guru, all the things that you just want to be in your life, like a go-getter. Probably ran more miles than I'll be able to dream of running. So
Yeah.
without wasting any time, I want to get down to it, Dane, and bring on the local hero of the month, Jake Dunne. Jake, how you doing, my friend?
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me on the show and appreciate the kind words. I think
Yeah.
we have different versions of the word hero, but we'll go with that.
Appreciate it, man. It's an honor, Jake. I like I said, I've been
Yeah,
following you for a
absolutely.
long time, and appreciate you letting us get the timing right and all that, and do you justice, man. So, Dane and I, over the course of this show, have developed some kind of questions about kind of picking your brain, just inspirational questions. So I'm gonna take the lead on this one. When you think about your journey, everybody, it can't be more true. Everybody has that moment in their life where, like, I'm just gonna run. I'm gonna make this kind of a recurring thing. They
Mhm.
get the bug, the runner's high. They get the itch to do this. When did you get this bug to start running the way you do it now in your life?
I'm going to go back a long time, and this might be TMI, but we're going to go back to the middle 80s. I was about 10 or 11 years old, end of my fifth grade year, and I was at a slumber party with my buddy, his birthday, and back then it was we got to call the cute girl and ask her if she'll go out with you. Those notes, will you go with me? Check yes or no.
The first
So
text message, right?
yeah,
Yeah, there you
well,
go.
no, this is way before text messages. So I called up Krisha Alter and I asked her, I was like, hey, would you go with me? Timid, shy, fifth grade Jake. And she said, no, silence, because you're too fat.
Oh, wow.
Oh man.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Wow.
no, but
Wow.
so my buddies erupted in laughter. So that I don't know what happened, but like a little light switch went on. And that summer between fifth and sixth grade, do you remember the Jane Fonda workouts? Is that before you
Yeah.
guys?
Oh,
So my mom had a
absolutely.
my mom had a stack of VHS tapes. So every day that summer, for a half hour, maybe an hour, I'd do Jane Fonda, Richard Simmons. So basically, when I left fifth grade, I was about 410, 100 pounds, And then
Yeah.
when I started sixth grade, I was 5'2", 75 pounds. And I
Oh wow.
remember going back to football practice, Coach Driscoll, West Side Bear said, Jake Dunn, what the heck happened to you? I guess you're no longer on my line.
Oh my gosh.
So, and that,
Wow.
go ahead.
No, I'm just processing, man. I'm just listening. Go ahead, man.
So that just snowballed it. I mean, so from that point on, whether it was wrestling or football, snow skiing, I mean, I've done a lot. I got uber competitive, and I would say I first started running in high school. I did track in the spring because I'm no good at baseball, and there's
Okay.
nothing else to do in the spring. I wasn't very good. I mean, I was okay, but running a mile in like 5:15, 5:20 back then, I got eighth place out of eight people usually, but I loved it. I love being outside in Kansas in the spring. I had such a good time and I kind of went away from it a little bit in my 20s. And then I came back in my early 30s. In the past 15 years, it's just been, man, I am so addicted.
It's as Dane said, because Dane always taught me. Dane's a runner. He's the one that taught me how to do it. And I remember that first peak, right? Like before you go into two, Dane. Do you
Yeah.
remember your first mile? Like when you actually started doing it? Everybody has that. I did it, and my
Yeah.
first mile was 15 minutes before we get down to like the 6:20s and 6:30s. Do you remember like your first mile? Like Can you still recall that? Like actually like in training for it, you know? So,
I would say in my 30, when I started coast, I had I was weightlifting a lot in my 20s. I had a spinal fusion, C5, 6, and 7. I had to get
okay.
fused together. So doctor said you need to probably find a new sport. So I remember it was my first 5K. I'm in my early 30s, and I ran like a 28-minute 5K, which is
Wow.
incredibly slower than what I did in high school. But I was so excited. I thought I just climbed Mount Everest. I was like, yeah, go me. And I took like 15th place in my age group, but whatever.
It's great, man. You
Yeah.
still did it though. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, go ahead. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, from those days, when you restarted and you had that, like Josh and you guys say, we all see you had that runner's high, like this is something I love to do. From that point, your first event to the marathons you've run, all the events you've done, I guess this would be a two-parter. What is maybe your most favorite event that you've run? And also on that, what is your favorite marathon that you've run thus
Hmm.
far?
Oh man, I would say okay. So my favorite event actually took place last September. I host a lot. Being on the TV, a lot of people, hey, will you host our race? And I get those, and I love them. I did the Wichita Suicide Awareness Run in September. I say this openly on TV. I'll say here, my dad took his own life when I
Oh, I'm
was
sorry.
1 years old. And so they asked me, and I had plans that weekend, but I canceled those plans. I emceed the race and I ran it.
Cool.
And this was last fall, and I took second overall. I ran it in 18 minutes and 22 seconds, or the fastest 5K I've done since I was like 20 years old. And I did that for my dad. So that was definitely my favorite race memory right there.
What a story. Like
Wow.
that's it's
Wow.
great. I'm sorry, man. What a
Yeah.
positive thing you turned that into, man. Wow. Shout out to you. Wow. What a story. Go ahead, Dane.
Now, oh, go ahead, Dane.
Oh, I was just going to say the other part of that. I mean, well, like you say, whenever you do these kind of events, when you're out there running, it leaves you a lot of time to reflect. So I'm sure that maybe give you a little extra fuel to kick in those mileage on that type of race in a 5K.
And that one was special too, because that was at the Wichita State campus. And
Mm-hmm.
my dad's right across the street at Old Mission Cemetery.
Mm.
And it was the day
Wow.
after it was 2 days after his birthday. So that one, I just that whole, just running for dad the whole way, just focused. And it
Wow.
was hot that day. It was like muggy and like in the mid 80s. And that's not, runners, that's tough running conditions.
Yeah.
But man, I
That's,
I, I felt so proud of, what I did, and I did that for dad. So it was really
yeah.
cool moment.
What a story.
Absolutely.
I'm just
Absolutely.
absorbing that. That's go ahead, Dane. I'm absorbing that, man. That's wonderful. Wonderful turnaround of the story, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Turning into positive is something that's not only tough to do for everybody around you, but for yourself. Now, whenever you think of a longer event like a marathon, what is one of your more favorite marathons that you've run, or maybe even two of them that you've run?
100% Dallas. I've qualified for Boston, but Boston and New York, I have no desire right now. Maybe late. Too many people.
Yeah.
Running. You're running like you're like a sardine for
Yeah.
miles. I
Yeah.
hear. 50,000 people. I love Prairie Fire. I did Crossroads recently in Salina. I love the local ones, and I'm also a coach. So when I've got people wanting to do their first marathon, I recommend a Prairie Fire, a Crossroads, something like 2,000 or less runners.
Mhm.
You've got a good support, you've got a good
Yeah.
expo, you got some community involvement, but you're not overwhelmed. Dallas is perfect. Dallas is about 10,000 runners. They start
Mm-hmm.
in downtown. It's 2 weeks before Christmas. You run around Lake Dallas, and then you go to Highlands Park. Are you guys familiar with
Yeah.
Highlands Park?
Mhm. Yeah.
So, multi-million-dollar homes, and they're out there with eggnog and rum and shots and cookies, because there's two different kinds of marathon
Yeah.
runners. There, those that are there to, a personal goal, whatever time, and those that are there just have fun.
Right.
And
Right.
Yeah.
man, you're having a blast. And then you come back in a down. And it's the perfect amount of people,
Yeah.
expo, it's a short drive. Dallas is way, way, way up there on the list.
Oh
Others,
yeah.
honorable mention, Des Moines, Oklahoma City for some close ones as
Yeah.
well.
We
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
I know Dana and I talked about this. We've done it was like a turkey trot near there. It wasn't a full marathon. We've done some things in Dallas. And you mentioned, Dana and I, OKC, man, that was wonderful. It was you're right there by the where the memorial starts and all of that.
Yeah.
So just wow. Go ahead, Dan. I interrupted, Dan. Go ahead.
I was going to say that Dallas one, I've run there myself. It was the one where I ran. It started at I think the Cotton Bowl Stadium, and they have some really good sights there, some views as you're running down their courses. So I can kind of second that running in
Yeah.
Dallas.
Good stuff. When you think about, obviously, Jake, you mentioned some of the inspirations, right? Already kind of talking about doing things for dad and all of that. I remember again, Dane, he was one that I do give you that shout out, Dane. You got me into this, and my buddy Aaron, it's like, hey, we're going to start running, just going to make this a thing, right? We're just kind of going through our formative years and just learning something positive to do, maybe outside of Pops and some of the things you've done for him. Has there been a couple people that have been kind of a muse for you or like inspired you to do this
Yeah.
now in your journey,
Definitely my wife. She's got I don't want to talk too much about it, but she's got something that she's dealing with right now, and I dedicate a lot of races to her and my kids. I've got a son who's up at well, he's actually around the corner right now sleeping, but he'll be going back to KU soon,
Okay.
I think. And I've got my daughter down at university in Alabama. So my family. I mean, they've been my big support group. They allow me to go on these, when you're training for a marathon, it takes up a lot of time. They allow me to coach and run and train. I mean, there's, some weeks between training and coaching, it's an extra 20 hours
Yeah.
compared to my, already day job at Channel 12. And
Yeah.
they allow that. They know how much running means to me, how much I love it. And so they allow me to do it, and they support me every step of the way.
It's neat to hear that. And Dane, before you go to four, we've talked about this a lot. There's such a parallel too, Jake, of like overcoming obstacles and running,
Yeah.
running or lifting. It's crazy how that mental strength that, hey, if I can do this, if I can run 2 miles, if I can do that, it almost makes some of the day-to-day
Yeah.
problems seem more achievable, right? And what you're doing is you see the fire, like you can hear the coach in your voice, you hear the passion because it's in your DNA. You're a runner, you're a coach, you have a fire about you, and it just kind of helps you prepare for everyday life. Wouldn't you say, Dane?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And whenever you're out there on the roads, what is it that keeps you, say you're not feeling it, everybody's had those days where they're either on a 5K, 10K marathon, what have you. You just feel, for lack of a better term, heavy. What is something that you kind of tell yourself as you go through this? Since you're the only one out there, in other sports that we talk to, you have a teammate going, you have a coach, you have the fans, your family cheering you on. What do you kind of tell yourself when you get those days where you just feel like you don't have it?
I mean, it's really just about talking yourself into it. In case in point, this morning, I got up and I'm like, it is cold. I don't want to go run, but I talked myself into it. First mile, I'm like, this stinks. And I started getting warmer, and I'm like, it's a beautiful Sunday morning. And I always tell myself, you're able to do this. And a lot of people are not able to do this for one reason or another. And I always think of that. And this is cheesy too, but I love music. I mean, and that's one reason I love running. And what kind of music? I don't know. Mariah Carey, Metallica, you name it. It's on my iPhone. So I love music, and it's just you hear that song. It's like maybe like Rocky IV. It's the Rocky IV soundtrack. I'm going to get pumped up, and I'm going to keep going. So
there you go.
Oh, that's not cheesy at all, Dane. Before you go forward, music it's just another excuse to listen to music for long periods at a time. So I love it. No, you're not. That's not cheesy at all. I'm right there with you. Go ahead, Dane.
Well, and again, I mean, with this next one, I'll say, welcome to the new year to all of us. What is maybe a event or two or some big things on the horizon, whether it's be for running or work or anything like that you have set forward for yourself going into 2024?
I will say this is the first year probably since COVID years where we didn't know what races were going to be available, that I don't really have a specific goal moving forward. I'm trying to run a marathon in under 3 hours, which at my age, less than 1% of the population can do. So it's a goal. I was attempting it in Salina in November, and through mile 9, I'm cruising. I injured myself, and that was the first race I've ever run where I did not finish. I had to drop out because of pain in my ankle. And so, it left a sour taste in my mouth. So I'm kind of just easing into 2024. But, we always do the Wichita Brewing Company Marathon Relay. That's up first. And then are you guys familiar with the David Goggins challenge? The
yes,
4x4?
yes.
Okay.
Ooh.
We do that. We'll be doing that first weekend of March. I'll go to Oklahoma City with some of my runners. I always do Prairie Fire, and then I think I'm going to do. I really want to do. I lived in Michigan for 10 years, and are you guys either one? Are you familiar with the Detroit Marathon?
I don't know that one.
I
If you do, Dane, I haven't
haven't
heard that
seen.
one.
No,
No.
I haven't heard that one.
Okay, so that it's one of the only ones in the world where you run through two different countries. So you start in downtown Detroit, you cross the bridge into Windsor, you run through Canada, and then you come right back into Detroit. So, and
Wow. Okay.
I've got a lot of friends that do that one. So, and that's
Oh,
in
nice.
October. So, I will, and I think one of these weekends I'm just going to sneak away, not tell anybody, and find a marathon close by and shoot for that sub 3.
Oh, there you go.
That Detroit one brings new meaning the word cross country, huh? Sorry, I had to do it. What wrong stat joke? No, that's cool. No, Jake, it's neat, man. Like, and it's funny how you mentioned about 8 or 9 races, and that's a light year for you. I love that. It's like, oh, it's just a light year, 8 or 9 races.
Yeah.
So I said you're driven, man. There's a fire about you that you can't deny, man. So,
Yeah, real quickly, when I first got back in running my early 30s, okay, honey, I'm going for a long run, 2 or 3 miles. Now I say, okay, honey, I'm going for a long run. She's like, I'll see you tomorrow.
right? Yeah. We've talked to a couple of your peers too, like Adele, Jordan Garcia, and we've worked with Matt Magnuson. Have you ever done a ultra, or is that in the cards at some point, do you think, or just curious?
Matt and our friend Tony, they're trying. I will say I've had my left knee reconstructed 3 times.
Oh man.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
So I'm not sure how long I've done a 30-mile run, and I'm not sure how much, I'm thinking about it. I'm considering an ultra. That's a different breed. I'm good friends
Yeah.
with Matt. That is a different breed. I tell people the difference between a marathon and like an ultra, whether it's a 50-mile,
Mhm.
700-mile, whatever. That's like the
Mhm.
difference between a 5K and a marathon. That is a
It's
huge
crazy.
jump.
Yeah.
People think
Yeah.
So it's on the the
Well, I'll tell you right
time
now,
there
Dane and
when
I
you're
will
the
never
guy.
do that. Don't feel bad. We're never doing that, so don't feel bad. So, unless I'm taking the car with me, no. So, Jake, I'm going to transition. I'm going to transition for a little bit. There's something in every episode, man. We love this. The show, we've been blessed. It's on in 27 countries, and we get this question set. We do something called rapid fire. We try to get participation from the fans and all that. And what this is, it's 5 questions. Now, there's no wrong answer. This is the funny part. There's no wrong answer. Dane and I are betting on what we think you're gonna say. We
Okay.
have a little system, almost like DraftKings, if you will, for this thing. So what you'll do is these 5 questions. Now you can take them, man. You don't have to like spit it out right away. But imagine past or present. Reality doesn't exist. You could bring movie stars. You could bring cartoons. Nothing is impossible for this little rapid segment. And just go with what you feel like you would choose. We always preface, we love all the artists that we ask and choose from. They're all good. It's just more about personality or style.
Yep.
So we're going to begin. We're going to mix a couple of running themes with also what you do with, Channel 12. So the first one, you get called up and say, hey, Jake, we want you to obviously, do the typical forecast for, for the day or whatnot, but we're going to surprise you, and you get to have a guest host do the entire segment with you, a guest celebrity host, just help you kind of call the weather for the week, if you will. Like you got someone, tag along for the week. Your 2 choices, love them both. You can either have Simon Cowell help you for the week, or you can have Snoop Dogg help you call the weather all week. Love them both, but which one are you going with?
Snoop Dogg.
I had you. I did. Dane, how about you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can't deny that. Snoop's the man.
Snoop Dogg.
Let's go. 1 for 1. So I'm hoping I'll pull ahead of you on this one, Dane. So I think I know what you're going to say, Dane. So the next one, also, they don't tell you. Say, Jake, on the spot, we're doing something new, little segment. We're going to add some Channel 12 bloopers. So I need you to do a on-air acoustic song just on the spot, and you get to choose your co-person to do this duet with. You can do a duet on air with Paula Abdul or Dave Matthews on air. Paula or Dave, which one are you going with?
Straight up now, tell me, do you want
Let's
me to
go.
have Paula Abdul?
I had you for that one. Dane, how about you, man? What'd you have, Dane?
Oh, yeah. I had Paula Abdul.
Let's go. 2 for 2.
Growing up in that 80s, 90s era,
yeah.
she was the go-to in those.
Still great. Still great,
Yeah.
man. Love it. Okay, so we're 2 for 2. I'm gonna have to try to pull ahead, Dane. I can't be having this tie stuff. So check this out. You're going on to your next run. We're gonna say it's the OKC marathon, and they say, "Hey, Jake, we're gonna do something a little different. These 2 bands are willing to run the race with you, behind you, and somehow defy the law of physics and be basically your live music running behind you, playing instruments that cheer you on for this marathon. Like you got personal bands hyping you up." Your two choices, love them both. You can either have Nickelback running behind you, playing their set list to your marathon, or you can have Milli Vanilli running behind you doing their set list. Nickelback, Milli Vanilli chasing behind you. Which one are you going with?
Oh man. You know, I think Nickelback gets an unfair shake in community.
Oh, I love
I
them.
really I like them both a lot. That's actually tougher than I would think. But because I need a little bit more pep in my step, a little bit more, rock, it's got to be Nickelback.
I had Millie. Dan, how about you, man? Which one do you have?
Yeah, I had Milli Vanilli.
Oh my gosh, we're so
Oh,
tired. What
wow.
is this, man? What is this? Okay, this is crazy. Okay, next one. Maybe we'll pull ahead on this one. I got two more. So they say it's going to be Prairie Fire, and they say, hey, we want to just give you some fun sponsorships. And these two companies say, hey, we're willing to kind of give you a sponsorship like a shoe deal, the Jake Dunne shoe line. But what they don't tell you is these two companies, you got to get the tattoo on your face, Post Malone style. So like, hey, we'll give you a cool sponsorship, a shoe line, the whole thing, as long as you're willing to get our tattoo on your face. So you can go with the old school Hot Wheels, fits running right there, across right there, or you can go with A1 barbecue sauce for the tattoo. Which sponsorship are you going with for the tattoo?
Hot Wheels.
Let's go. Let's go. How about you, Dane? What'd you have?
No, I had the barbecue.
So I pulled ahead. Okay, I pulled ahead. This is your chance, Zane. You might be able to tie me here. But Jake, this is the last one. I saved, which we feel like is the most epic question for last. So the year is 2027. There's a Lifetime movie coming out about Jake Dunne. The weatherman turned coach, turned runner, turned just athlete extraordinaire. The title of the movie, which is great, Surviving the Storm. Check it out. So you're going to have this Lifetime movie after Jake Dunne, and you can take one of these two legendary actor gentlemen to be Jake Dunne in the movie. You can call on Matt Damon or Ben Affleck to play the movie role for you. You're a consultant. Which one are you going with for Surviving the Storm?
Matt Damon.
Oh, I had Ben Affleck. Oh my gosh. Dane, how about you, Dane? Which one did you have?
I had Affleck. I was torn on that one though, but I went with Affleck.
Well, Dane, I pulled ahead by one. I appreciate you. So, Jake, I hope that thank you, man. And interviews and segments you've done. Hopefully, that's something a little different. It's called Rapid Fire. So,
love it.
You being in sport, man. Awesome, man. So, yeah, just a little fun thing we do. Thanks to the fans and everyone, and Jake for participating.
Yeah,
Dane, I'll take my food delivered, please. DoorDash it to me. So, let's go. All right. So, last segment for you, Dane. Go ahead.
Hey, Jake, on this last segment, we call it a open mic. We open up the floor to our guests to maybe tell some of our younger viewers and listeners, maybe giving them a word of inspiration, motivation. We like to ask our guests, what is it maybe that you've carried with you, maybe a mantra, maybe something that motivational words that you've heard from long ago that you carry with you nowadays? I mean, through restarting running in your 30s to the injuries and things like that. Is there a mantra or something that you've carried with you that you can maybe pass on to that next generation to help them along their path as well?
It goes back to some song lyrics, and maybe you guys can figure out where this one came from, but I've lived by this one for a long time. You only get what you give. Do we know who sang that one?
Oh yeah, I do. That's Rolling Stones, right? Am I correct?
New Radicals.
Oh man.
You only get what you give. And I love that because, I mean, we have this saying, and when we coach with Fleet Feet, it doesn't matter if someone's out there. We started yesterday, our first training session of the winter. We tell everybody, whether it's your first 5K ever or you're trying to run your fastest marathon ever, we are all working just as hard as the person next to us to achieve that goal. And you're going to get what you give, and that's a good rule for life, I think. I mean, you're going to get it in return, but you've got to put in that effort, and also surround yourself with people that are trying to do the same thing you are. I mean, I'm not looking for people all trying to run a sub-3, but I want the people I coach. I learn as much from them as they learn from me. I see I have this story. I'm not going to tell. No, I won't say her name, but she came to me summer of 2022. She had two daughters in college, both ran track. And, I said, Mom, you're a little overweight. We're worried about you. We need to get you in shape. She came out to our first session in the summer. She couldn't even run around the track one time without, 400 meters, without really struggling for her breath. Within 6 weeks, she ran her first 5K.
Wow.
And then 6 weeks later, she ran her first 10K. and now she's working towards a half marathon, and this is within 2.5 years. So
Man,
Wow.
she's in her 60s. If she can do it, anyone can do it.
Wow.
you talk about kind of the inch by inch, right? There's an old adage of like inch by inch to cinch, right? Taking it day by day. And it
Yeah.
takes you back to when Jake, when you said it, like when Dane started to help me, my first mile was 16 minutes, down to like the sub sevens now, but you have to start somewhere. And it's like,
Yes.
I seen something somewhere, it blew my mind. And maybe you could expand on this being a coach. The average citizen in the States doesn't move more than 6 miles a month. I'm like, oh, maybe it's like it's probably far fetched, but the average citizen doesn't move a lot. So like just starting
Yeah.
somewhere, even if you run around the block, you're doing above the average person these days, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
I tell our runners too, and this is a stat in the United States, roughly 300 million people do not have a normal workout regimen. So, you're already less than, what is that? 20% of the population, so you get up and run 1 mile, you just did more than what roughly 300 million people will do in the entire year. I mean, so yeah, it's there. I mean, you can twist and turn the stats however you want, but you're still in the minority. So don't feel bad.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's never too late to start. I've got, kids that come out and their teens that train with us, and I've got, people in their 70s. You're never too late to start. And like you said, it's one step at a time. That's a cheesy cliche, but it's
true though.
One step at a time.
The passion, and this is what Dane and I have been for years have talked about. And Dane, you talked about this a lot, that it's never a bad day to run, right? You talk about that a lot too, Dane, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, best day of running beats sitting on the couch, because you feel so much better after, no matter how you start. After you're done, like Jake said, oh man, it's cold out here. You get done, you're like, okay, I did it. I feel better. I gutted through it. Your worst day of running is still better than, sitting on the couch, because what it gives you in return is so much more than what you put out there. I mean, like you say, with being, you get what you give. I would almost say you get more than what you give if you do it in the right frame of mind.
I love it.
And Dane, as a runner too, I mean, I'm sure you've been injured, and if you're a runner and you're injured and you can't run, that is difficult. Those are, I mean, I tell my runners too, you have to stop. I don't want to stop. You need to calm down, because if you can make an injury much worse. But yeah, those days, if you're addicted to running, man, you just want to do it, no matter what.
Yeah. And then even the comeback, you gotta understand, after those injuries or sickness or whatever falls on you that you can't run, whenever you come back, you gotta be prepared for some rough mileage until you get back to it. So
man, it's so inspiring, man. So I guess maybe last bonus question, Jake, because it's just so natural how passionate it is. We love that. Everybody's got that spot. All you runners out there, you have your spots in Wichita. They and I usually hit the keeper. We love using the trail around the keeper of the plains, right? Some people like Cedric County. There's those little niches. Some of the people like the east side. There's that path that goes to Andover. If you're just taking a day, you're just strolling, just having a mind clearing day, what's your favorite spot in Wichita right now?
Sunset Trail from Pawnee Prairie Park all the way. It's a lot of it's crushed rock, very good on your knees. And it's so peaceful. I mean, Coach and I, we on January 1st, we both said, okay, we're going to run 20.24 miles. And so we got up on January 1st and did 20.24. So just peaceful, serene. Love that trail.
Man. Love it.
Well, maybe once I get my feet under it, I can join the West Siders for a quick jaunt.
Come on out, Dane. Come on out.
We'll make that happen.
We have to get the information on that, and I can come out.
Yeah, we'll be sure on that, Coach Jake. I'm gonna start calling you Coach Jake at this point. We'll put all the links out there, everybody. Again, Jake is a coach, just a great human being, man. And when we started, like I said, when we began talking early on, I wanted to do you right and do the episode justice. So I appreciate your patience.
Absolutely.
As we always tell our people that come on the show, make it the first of many. We'd love to have you back again in the future.
Absolutely.
Don't this be your last time, man. Let's make sure this is a recurring thing, okay? So
sounds good to me. Absolutely, guys. I really appreciate the opportunity this morning.
Yes, sir.
And we can't wait to have you on once you hit that sub 3.
Yeah, maybe we can live stream it and GoPro you. There we go. Let's put a little GoPro on you and just, hey, on behalf of all the fans watching in Wichita, here's Jake just out there just Hot Wheeling it. Hot Wheels Jake, So
right there, Hot Wheels.
Love it. Well, Jake, thank you again, man. We appreciate it. It's been our honor. Thanks for showcasing Wichita. Just really, I mean, being that local inspiration that we all look for. People always say it's great to hear about an athlete, maybe like in another state or something, or country even. But when it's a local hero right there in their own city and backyard, it adds a little bit more extra inspiration that it can be done, So we appreciate you greatly.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yes, sir. We'll
Yeah,
be in
thank
touch.
you.
Take care, my friend, and you have a great one. And thanks for your time. Okay, appreciate you.
Absolutely.
So Dane, I'm telling you, man, he's everything and more than I thought of. What do you think, man?
Yeah, what an inspiration. I mean, you love the words that he tells you. I mean, he keeps in perspective, and he's living proof that, you know, you can work through injuries. There's things that you can do to no matter what happens in life, you can turn that into a positive and make it great for yourself. And you're only going to grow as a person from it.
Man, I can't get away from the passion and the way he inspires, just the fire. You hear it, like you hear it
Yeah,
from runners, and a true runner doesn't have to be any specific type, just the passion of wanting to do it. And he's just a go-getter,
yeah,
man. Everything he
yeah,
does in life, he succeeds. And he's like, he started what I like when he said about it's never too late. He wasn't starting
yeah,
in his teens, it was mid-30s. So anyone out there that says, oh, I've got a career, I've got kids, I've got school, I've got this and that, or if I'm not in the weight shape I want to be at, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where
yeah,
you are. A day could change that, you know? So,
yeah, yeah. I mean, it seems like the perfect time of year for that kind of interview. You know, the New Year's resolutions. You know, what better time to start than now? You know, we're at the beginning of this 2024 trek, and we're only going to have uh, really good, really great episodes from here on out, and you're going to learn so much. So, with his message, start out with that, get on the roads, make yourself a better person inside and out, and you won't regret it.
man. Well, I'll tell you what, Jake, thanks again. And Dane, that was a
Yeah,
great way to start the
yeah, loved
year.
it.
So, that'll be the first of many. And the good news is, man, we're just getting going. We've got a few more local heroes coming up this
Mm-hmm.
spring. So, for those of you that love to showcase and show the pride of Wichita, we got many coming
Yeah,
for you. But we just want to start the year
yeah,
off with a loud, positive bang, if you will. So,
yeah,
so Dane, that officially ends the first of the episode of the year. Got a lot of
yeah.
content coming up. I'm gonna start getting better about keeping some big reveals. So let's just say this month is huge. We'll leave it at that.
There you go.
And I'm inspired now. I'm gonna go run. I think I might go do a little running here after this. I'm inspired. So on behalf of Dane and Josh show and all of you out there worldwide, don't forget that we love you. And Dane.
Thank you for listening.